Hi everyone, my name is Erin Elizabeth Marenberg. Thank you so much for choosing to be here with me today. Welcome back if you've been here before, and welcome if you are new here. Today we have a full moon in Taurus and also an eclipse. So eclipses are about fated changes. They're about things happening for us that, if you've been waiting for something to come together or the truth to come out, or it's like a time of heightened awareness or clarity with certain things. And of course, full moons are about things ending, they're about closing and all of that. So I will be reading the cards for you in that way. I have three groups for you today. You can go ahead and pick by the cards you can see, by the number, by the sound of my voice, group one, group two, or group three. When you're ready, all the timestamps are below, and I will see what the reading that you chose. Hi everyone, welcome. It's for everyone who picked group number one. So as a reminder, I will be reading the cards in terms of full moon energy, so like releasing things, letting things go, all of that. So you all pick the card, surrender to the divine, full moon. So we do have a full moon today, surrender to the divine. I know this is like everyone's favorite advice to hear, to surrender, but it actually is helpful advice. So a lot of times when we feel like, okay, I surrendered, what else do you want me to do? Like when we feel that resistance, then we know we need to surrender more. So surrendering to the divine isn't about, sometimes people think surrendering is like passive or it's like giving up or like anything like that, but that's not true. Surrendering to the divine means that every time we think we're in charge of everything or all these areas of our life that we think, oh, well, I can make this happen or I can make that happen or I could whatever, right? That's pretty much never true, right? Surrender to the divine is really about getting clear about the ways that we're trying to control something that we have no business controlling. When we can surrender to the divine, that leaves space for God's plan and God's clarity and God's infinite wisdom, which is way more than ours, to be able to come through and create space for that for ourselves. So surrender to the divine. I feel like group one, with this full moon, with releasing, with letting things go, if you do want to be able to move forward with something, release something, this is really affirming that. And this is really a reminder that surrendering to the divine is for our benefit. And if you can think about, just if you're having trouble figuring out what can I surrender, just think about like, what am I resisting? What is really emotionally charged for me? Again, this can be something like, it could be a thought pattern, it could be a belief about yourself, it could be like, this certain thing is never going to happen for me, or it could be this thing is, why this happened, or this is all my fault, or anything like that. So surrender to the divine is a reminder that it's up to us to just recognize when something isn't working and when we've been trying to force something for too long and all of that, and surrendering to it. Like, again, I know easier said than done, but with a lot of these things, it is about just going back to the basics and practicing that over and over and over again until we have like really solidified that and held that in our hearts. And surrender to the divine is a reminder that God is in charge, not us, and it's up to us to get out of our own way and to be willing to surrender. Because once we kind of let something go and trust that God is taking care of us, and there are things that are for our benefit that we wouldn't necessarily choose for ourselves or the way we wouldn't choose them or things like that, then we can really learn to, again, just feel surrender isn't passive. It's about, understanding this is something I can't control, so I'm going to give it to God, but this is something I can control, so I am going to focus on it more myself. So surrender to the divine is not becoming powerless. It's about using your discernment about what you're going to focus on where. Okay, I'm going to look at your tarot cards and we'll look at your oracle cards. Okay, so we have Four of Swords opening your reading. Then we have Queen of Wands in reverse. And then we have the Seven of Cups. Then we have the Queen of Cups. Then we have the Tower. Wonderful. And then we have Judgment. Okay, so yeah, so this is exactly what I was saying with surrender to the divine. So we have this Four of Swords, which really is about rest, turning inward, being quiet, like kind of reflecting within ourselves and holding space for ourselves in that way. And this Queen of Wands in the upright is about like this really embodied queen energy, regardless of your gender, right? So just really about having passion and dedication and moving forward and taking action. Wands is fire sign. So the fire sign suits like a lot of like, I'm going to move forward. I'm going to do this. I'm going to make all this happen, but it's in the reverse. So this is saying like, this is not a time for you to force action about this particular thing that you need to surrender. This is a time to turn inward. This is a time to check in with yourself. This is a time to like rest, reflect, pray, ask for guidance, really connect to your higher power, your angels, your guides, whoever you have that feels good for you. But doing all of that And then remembering like this Queen of Wands energy is like, again, it's not about like forcing something to happen, and it's not about giving all your power away. It's about just saying, okay, where am I putting my energy that I don't need to, isn't beneficial, isn't helping me in any way, and I can instead like turn that inward and reconnect to myself about it. Okay, so these two cards are really about rest, pray, turn inward, and then Queen of Wands in reverse is really about making sure that you like don't try to force things. Like if you've been trying to make something happen, or like it has to be this way, or this is what has to go on, like these two cards together is just really saying very clearly, surrender to the divine, right? Take your hands off of it, let it go. If you've been trying to force and force and force and force, like you can surrender, like this is what I want to have happen, God, but I'm going to stop trying to play God and stop trying to force things in ways that like don't work for everyone. So holding that space. And then when you do that, what I see here is you're going to have way more options for yourself. Okay. So it might seem like sometimes when we're afraid to surrender because it means we're surrendering what we want, or we're surrendering like what, like, oh, it means I don't want this thing anymore. I'm not going to work for it or whatever. But sometimes we have to surrender so that the path to it, or a better option, or like something that we've been resisting is necessary for us to go through to be able to get there. So this Seven of Cups energy is really about knowing that when you surrender, when you put your focus on what you can control, what's something I can do today, what's a thing that I do have control over, what's something that feels natural for me to like gravitate towards and work on and be involved in, right? When we do that surrender, when we release all of that, that actually leads us to having more options and more things open up to us. And we see, okay, instead of being in this tunnel vision, laser focus, we're like, oh, we have all these other options that I didn't know I had. I didn't know I had this, and this going on for me. I didn't know all of these things were like coming together for me. I didn't know, all of that. So the Seven of Cups is really about, um, you know, just really getting clear in the ways that you can let yourself be open to creative possibilities. So it doesn't mean, again, when you surrender to the divine, it doesn't mean that you are giving up, that you're saying, I don't want this anymore, or whatever, right? It's just saying that you are open to different possibilities, different things happening, different ways of moving forward in a way that you maybe hadn't been before. So letting yourself stay open. And when you do take this little tiny action of these things you can control, of these things that are working for you, then again, let yourself be surprised by how many things come to be from you doing that, right? Again, we think we have to control every single part of everything, but we don't. If we're patient enough and surrendered enough and humble enough, then like God will arrange things for us in a way that we can never do for ourselves. So this card is a reminder that those things are happening for us, even when we can't see it. And it's important for us to stay connected to that. And those possibilities, instead of feeling like, surrender is a punishment, because it's not. It's just, again, freeing up our energy, letting things go, creating space for ourselves to have these more options for us in that way. And then we have the Queen of Cups. So this to me is really saying like, you're going through this process, this reroute, this not straightforward path to like build some emotional awareness and clarity for yourself. So Queen of Cups is like emotional mastery. It's getting clear about like, emotional intelligence, emotional maturity, all of that. Excuse me. And just holding space for that. So I feel like, again, when we're waiting for something, or when we get a reroute, or when we have to do something that we normally wouldn't choose, right? The inward, okay, I got a lot of words at once. The inward journey we can take to become more emotionally aware, emotionally intelligent, emotionally clear, all of that is worth the journey of what we had to go through. So this, to me, this Queen of Cups is really saying, this emotional growth you're doing, that you're going to do in this process, is necessary for you to be a match on the path that you're going. So like gathering emotional stamina, even just learning how to be patient, learning how to be humble, learning that we're not in charge, which isn't the most fun thing to admit, right? But doing that is part of this process. So Queen of Cups is a reminder that there are certain things we're not in control of, and the emotional, the emotional depth and growth we get from these certain things, right? If everything went our way all the time, probably wouldn't be challenged to grow that much, right? And so sometimes like we go through these things and these catalysts and these timelines and these things, and they don't feel the best, but they are necessary for our growth in this way. So this Queen of Cups is really about remembering the ways that these emotional growth spurts are painful, and they're sometimes, a lot of times, things we wouldn't choose for ourselves, but they are necessary. So what you gain in this growth is going to be really important. And then what we're also seeing with the Tower, when we surrender, you have to be willing to let things go that God is taking out of your life. Okay. So this Tower is really, so maybe just the emotional maturity is like, stop trying to hold on and cling to everything, right? But the Tower is a clearing. It is time for things to leave your life, to not be there anymore. And so with this Tower energy, we really want to remember that it's important for us to, let these things go and remember that there are certain things that, they leave our life for a reason, right? And there's a lot of things like, oh, I'm not ready, or I thought that was a good thing for me, or I don't want to do that. But you have to trust that, like, whatever leaves your life for whatever reason, like, you are not in control of that. And like letting go and surrendering to that is important. And that could be things that leave willingly. It could be things that aren't a match for you anymore that you need to be willing to say no to and all of that. So this Tower energy is really about letting things leave that want to leave, not taking it personally, not trying to hold on longer than their expiration date. But I think maybe some of the fear, some of the resistance to surrendering for you guys in group one is like, I don't want these things to leave. I like these things. I like them. I like that they're in my life. I don't want them to go, right? But so surrendering and that Tower energy is going to be very important for you guys. Because then we have Judgment. So this card is, about judgment. Okay, so it is about how are you going to show up and be accountable for how you acted in these ways, right? Integrity is what you do when no one's watching. Your character is how you act when things aren't going your way, when you could justify certain things to yourself, like, oh, well, if you were going through this, you would act like this too, or if this thing was happening for you, you would be like this too. So judgment is a reminder that it's up to you to be able to be accountable to yourself, to live with integrity, to say, okay, this, and this is happening for me. It might not feel the best, but I know I'm still going to live in judgment or live in a place of integrity and know that, like, on the day of judgment or when I'm accountable or whatever, I have a clean conscience. I have a clean heart. I know what I've done for myself in these ways. So judgment is a reminder to, be honest and hold yourself with integrity with these things. And surrendering, like, doesn't feel the best, and it can make us want to throw an adult temper tantrum, which is fine as long as you use healthy tools to do that, right? But judgment is a reminder to remember, like, you have a choice of how you respond to these things. We might have a choice, not have a choice of everything that happens in our lives, but we always have a choice of how we're responding, how we're showing up, how we're like allowing those things to be in our existence in this way. So just thinking about that, staying in integrity, being upset, letting yourself be upset, but knowing that you do have a choice how you move forward, and what you do with those things. Can we look at your oracle cards? Okay, so we have you are lovable first, this flower card. Love who you are as you're created perfectly. Everything about your true self is beautiful. So I feel like this card for me is really saying, like, sometimes, if we have to surrender, we feel like things aren't going our way, we think God's punishing us. That's not true. Okay, so this card with you are lovable, God doesn't punish us. God is there to get us through these hard times and these things that just happen on earth. That's just part of being here. So you are lovable is a reminder that, like, you are not being punished. There's nothing wrong with you. This is just part of life, and remembering, like, God loves me, and people in my life love me, and whatever's going on, but just remember you are lovable, right? You didn't do something to be like, oh, like, God hates me because nothing's working out for me. That's not true. And also, you're not special enough for that to happen. No one is. I'm not. No one is. Okay. So it's important to remember that, you know, if hardship was a test or was an indicator of how much God doesn't like us, everyone goes through hardship. I know it's like, not to dismiss what you're going through, but it's important to say that, you can go through these things and remember that, again, God isn't like smiting us or punishing us, right? These are just things that we go through, and then they're there for us to grow and expand on the soul level. So you are lovable. Is a reminder that, like, these things don't happen because you're being punished. It's just part of being. Okay, then we have the great severing, Mars energy, anger, conflict, softening to love. So I feel like this is really saying, if you have been resisting surrendering to the divine, let yourself be upset about it. Let yourself be angry. I think, it's okay to, when things get pulled away or things don't go our way, or we were really attached to something, or there was an interrupter that wasn't our choice, it's okay to be mad. It's okay to be upset. Like, again, what you do with that anger, how you use it in a healthy way, and like channel it and release it and all that, like, that's what's more important, instead of being totally chaotic and reckless and like a tornado of a person with it. So this is a reminder that it's okay to be mad. It's okay to have conflicting feelings. Like, you don't need to feel like, oh, I'll just surrender this and it's fine. If you really wanted something, it was a big part of your life and your energy, like it's okay to be upset. So just remember, like loss is it's a lot of conflicting feelings and a reroute and things like that. So don't feel like there's something wrong if you're like, oh, and like I feel angry, with all of this. Love is the only reality. This is a reminder again. I'm really hearing, I feel like group one, just a lot of this pain of like, I'm being punished, I'm being punished, I'm being punished. So this isn't to dismiss all the suffering or like spiritually bypass anything, but love is the only reality. Again, as a reminder that like God actually is this wonderful, loving, kind, patient energy, and like tapping into that more than like punishment energy. And then finally, we have romance. So I feel like group one, for some of you, this is just a general reading. So if this part doesn't apply to you, don't take it, okay? But so some of you might be surrendering romance. So it could be a specific relationship, it could be an idea about romance, it could be something like that. But the main message I'm getting is to like romance yourself. Like, so make your life more romantic. So like take a bubble bath, light a candle when you eat dinner, eat nourishing foods, like speak loving words to yourself, right? So one way we can really self-soothe and take care of ourselves when we go through things like this is tapping into like romantic energy. If you have a romantic partner, like obviously upping the romance there, but especially with yourself, of just like this really soothing, nourishing, loving, kind energy that's really gonna help with these things, make yourself feel seen, make yourself feel heard, through these uncomfortable things, right? Like I might not have control over this, but I can like have a wonderful cup of tea, take a bubble bath, write a love letter to myself, right? You can do all of those things amidst like these uncomfortable situations that are happening. Okay, I'm going to pull one affirmation card for you guys in group one. But yeah, just a reminder that surrender is not a punishment. This is, if you're just patient enough, you can get to the other side and see what's going on. We have releasing expectations. Only the highest possibilities come to be, whether I envision them or not. So I like this, whether I envision them or not. If you're having a hard time, don't feel like, again, you're being punished because you're not staying in like high vibration. Okay, that's bullshit. Okay, you're not being punished for having a certain human emotion. Okay, so this is just a reminder, like release expectations, let go of the flow of life, know that you're not in charge, God is in charge, and just really honoring that for yourself. Release your expectations. Okay, that's everything I have for you. Thank you so much for choosing to be here with me today. If you ever want any more information about me, all of that is linked below. Thank you so much, and I hope you have a wonderful day. Hi, everyone. Welcome. This is for everyone who picked group number 2. So as a reminder, this is a full moon reading. So I'll be reading the cards in that way in terms of letting things go, releasing things, all of that. Okay, you all pick the card. Conclusions are within reach. Full moon eclipse. So we also have an eclipse today. And again, eclipses are about like fated changes, practicing non-attachment, letting things go. So I feel like conclusions are within reach. A lot of times, we're always in a rush, right? Because it's like, I decided this is the thing I wanted. I decided I want it now and in this particular way. And then it didn't happen. So now I'm mad. Okay, so conclusions are within reach is a reminder that like we think there's so much like when I get here, when I get here, when I get here. And it's okay to have goals, it's okay to have dreams, it's okay to want to have certain things happen in our lives. But when we're so focused on that, then we can like ignore the ways that one, our needs are actually being met day to day. And two, remembering that like there is no arrival, right? So once we get to that next thing, it's going to be on to the next thing, the next growth, the next expansion, which is beautiful. But if we're looking at life as just like this finish line to get to, then we're always going to feel unfulfilled and it's always going to feel frustrating and it's always going to feel like frustrating. But conclusions are within reach, a reminder that again, with this eclipse about fated changes, like things can change overnight. Things can change in one day, one conversation, you never know where one conversation is going to go, right? So this is just a reminder to keep showing up, and no one can take away the work you do for yourself. No one can take away how you show up for yourself. No one can take away any of that. So this is a reminder that conclusions are within reach. Like you don't know how many things are working out for you in a way that like you can't see or you're not aware of right now. And so this isn't, to just be like, okay, like where is it? I'm waiting, right? We don't want to do that, but you have no idea how well things are going to come together for you if you just practice a little bit more patience, which again, no one likes to do, okay? But I feel like with this full moon, you can really think about letting go of, okay, it has to be this way, this thing, this whatever, or it has to be this specific timeline or this, all of that. So conclusions are within reach. Just remember that yeah, it's just don't feel like God forgot about you. Okay, God didn't. God is here. You're being supported, you're being cared for. feeling uncomfortable is part of life, building resilience through hardship and things that don't feel the best is part of life, and just, holding on to that space is really important. Okay, I'm going to look at your tarot cards, then we'll look at your oracle cards. So, okay, Page of Pentacles in reverse. Okay, and then Ace of Pentacles, and then Five of Cups, sorry. Excuse me. Justice, the Devil, and Nine of Wands. Okay, so I feel like, yeah, I feel some kind of similar energy to group one, but there was some frustration here. There was loss, kind of like, wow. I just feel like, this big thing of like really letting something go and really just feeling like I thought this was going to be the certain way, and I thought this was going to be the conclusion, and I thought this was going to be the resolution, and it's just not. So this Page of Pentacles in reverse, I feel like is really, it just feels like you had this great idea and it was going to go this particular way and this is what was going to happen, and then it just didn't go that way at all, right? So life happens sometimes. Sometimes we think like, oh, well, I followed my intuition, but it still didn't like work out, right? So the point of following our intuition is to build that relationship with ourselves and to feel what that feels like to follow our intuition, not so we can get a particular outcome, right? So we're still not in charge of other people. We're still not in charge of like God. We're still not in charge of like these things in a way that we think we should be, right? And so we think, oh, I followed my intuition, so why didn't I get exactly what I want? That's not the point of our intuition. Our point of our intuition is to build that relationship with ourselves and with God more and deeper and further. And so this Page of Pentacles in reverse is, I feel like there's just I'm feeling like frustration and loss of just, well, I listened, so why didn't this happen? Why didn't this work? Why didn't whatever, And so this is really just saying, you have to let that go and have your process with it. Don't spiritually bypass. If you feel frustrated, honor that. If you feel whatever, honor that. But this Page of Pentacles in reverse is just a reminder that like you can, my heart, like you're not being like, this is what I got in group one a lot too. You're not being punished. Okay. This is like, if you have to let something go, trust the reroute, trust that something better is coming, trust that all of this, because this Ace of Pentacles really is affirming that, right? It's like Ace of Pentacles is like a birth of a new idea, something new to look at, like a new way of being. Like, can you trust that, okay, maybe this way wasn't how it's supposed to go, but what about this way, right? Maybe this is the way that's better for you and better, God knows, we don't know. And so just really leaning into that, trusting that, and trusting that, like, again, this one particular way, this one particular timeline, this one particular whatever, like really felt like it had to be this way or it's nothing, but I can assure you it's not. Okay, so this is saying you have to let something go for something else to come in. Like if you want a new life, you have to say goodbye to the old one. If you want something different, you have to stop putting all your energy into this other thing. So really trusting that and leaning into that. And really honoring the loss that comes with that. I feel really like solemn for you guys, group two. So this Five of Cups is really just honoring, like, when we let something go, it is sad, even if it's a choice we're making to actively let it go, even if it's like, when we had our heart into something and we really felt connected to it, or we really felt like this was the thing for me, when it turns out it's not, or we have to do a reroute or have to do something different, right? It can be so sad, and it's okay if it's sad. So this Five of Cups is really about letting it be sad, letting yourself feel upset, just letting yourself feel, these totally not wonderful, ideal feelings all the time. So just don't don't feel like you're not allowed to feel whatever emotions you have, right? Like even if this thing that comes to be, this conclusion is like, oh, that's so great, that's so amazing. Now I see why this had to happen this way, right? Sometimes there's still sadness because again, if we invested our heart in something and we're genuine and we're pure, feels totally different than, if we didn't really care about it. So it's okay to feel upset. It's okay to feel sadness. It's okay to feel loss. Again, even if it's a loss we choose, it's okay to feel like there's some sadness there because again, it's just part of the human experience, right? And then we have justice. So again, I feel like balance coming back in for you guys in group two of just like, whatever this new thing is, this new path is, if you just continue along with that, like if you're willing to stay like humble and patient enough, like we're always shown why, or maybe not why, but like we're shown, okay, well, now I'm at this place in my life and I got through those things and that was it, right? So justice is about balance coming back in. And I'm also hearing that this is about remembering like God keeps perfect books. God keeps perfect score. The angels keep perfect score. So if you felt like they heard everything you went through. They've seen you, they've been watching you, they've been staying with you. So like don't feel like nothing is in vain, okay? Because it's not. When your heart is surrendered to God, nothing is in vain. And when you really believe that, and when you really can, when you're willing to be wrong, when you're willing to let this divine guidance and blueprint come in, that again is not something maybe you would choose for yourself, that's when we can feel a lot of justice. And remembering, like, again, okay, like this thing was messed up and I might not get justice in the way that my ego wants, but God is the most just. God is the ultimate judge. God is the divine justice thing there. And like a clean conscience is a reward by itself. So I feel like if you tried your hardest, if you had a pure heart, if you did these things, then you can let go, knowing like, you know, you can find solace in that. Like it's honoring the path is painful and your healing process is painful. But if you acted in a way that was in integrity and that, you took responsibility for yourself, you tried to make amends if you weren't acting in integrity all the time, then just remembering that, there will be peace to come from that. So this justice, again, it might not be exactly in physical reality, but trusting that like there can be justice and peace and, balance in your heart, boundaries in your heart, all of those things coming together. Because then we have the devil here. So this is saying to me, whatever you're going through, do not, I mean, you're going to do it if you're going to do it, but try not to lean into like a maladaptive coping technique to deal with it. Okay. So I feel like this process of loss and pain and letting go and finding your footing is very painful. And we can always justify ourselves, like, oh, well, it's okay to go through loss and like handle dealing with it in like ways that are healthy, which can include sleeping a lot or taking a bath or eating extra ice cream or like, whatever. But this is really saying to me, kind of stay away from like addictive things. So it could be like try not to smoke a bunch of weed to numb out. Don't get super drunk to deal with it. Like don't play video games for 80 hours and ignore your whole life, right? So this is saying like the way you're dealing with these things, what you're nourishing with that when you take care of yourself, it's okay to need extra love and care from yourself and support. It's okay to need like some time to heal and recover, but just be really careful that you don't slip into like excusing away some bad behavior. And again, nobody's perfect, right? If you're going to need to eat like ice cream every single day for 2 weeks, that's okay, right? If you need to sleep a little bit more, that's okay. But this is really saying like, what your line is and what is healthy and not healthy for to deal with things. And so really trusting that and not, we can use anything to justify anything for ourselves, right? To excuse any behavior we do or don't do. So this is really saying honor that, be careful, don't again go into this place where you feel totally like you're justified in like acting in these ways that aren't the most aligned with like holding yourself accountable and being true to yourself in that way. Because then we have the Nine of Wands, and I feel like this is like what I'm hearing with all this process. This was like a lot. Okay. This was a lot. So what I'm hearing is just go at the pace that feels okay for you. You don't have to rush. Okay. God is in charge. We're not, when we want to rush, we forget God. We think like God forgot about us. We think, whatever. But so this Nine of Wands is really about remembering that it's okay for us to let go of control and it's okay for us to move at a baby pace, so maybe it's like, wow, I should be over this by now, or I should feel peace in my heart by now, or whatever. And I don't, so I want to do something unhealthy to deal with that, right? But it's okay, like let yourself out the process. There's nothing wrong, right? So sometimes we're just upset for whatever reason. Things take the time they take, and we're not in charge of that. Again, God is. And so I feel like with this Nine of Wands, this is really saying, like, let it have the time it needs and don't use that as a punishment or a judgment on yourself. Just let it be what needs to happen. And you can kind of like, you can suss out a little bit. You can take a baby step. You can say, okay, I'm going to do this or not this or this thing, right? So this is a reminder, like you don't need to push yourself further than the pace you can go at. The pace you can go at is okay. And, we do have to be uncomfortable and get out of our comfort zone a little bit. But if you're pushing yourself to the point that it's like total shutdown, total collapse, like I can't do anything, like you might want to look at that. So again, this is a reminder to just really honor that and allow those things to unfold in the way that you are honoring your own process instead of forcing yourself to be on this timeline that maybe you're not necessarily on. Okay, I'm gonna look at your oracle cards. Like, what was I just saying? Perfect timing. Okay, so again, so this is saying like First of all, trust God's timing in your life. And second of all, trust your own timing, trust your body's timing, trust the timing of how long it takes you to move through something, right? There's so many things that when we're processing something or going through something, we don't see all the pieces, we don't see all the parts, we don't see why something takes so long and whatever reason. So it's a reminder that there is perfect timing, there is a plan bigger than you, there are these things going on, and you don't need to force yourself faster than what you can do, because when you try to do that, you're going to have to loop back around and you're going to lose time anyway. So perfect timing is a reminder of all of those things. And one way you can do that, so I feel like, well, we'll look at both these cards. So we have communicate with your angels, a bird of paradise flower. You have the ability to connect with the beings of love who surround you, communicate with your angels and deliver their healing messages to others, and also listen to the inner voice. So both of these cards, I feel like, is about, again, with this process, like remembering you're not alone. So you have your angels, your guides, God, loved ones who are on the other side, again, however any of that resonates for you. And then you also have your inner voice, right? Our inner voice is God talking to us. It's our intuition. It's, that back and forth energy. So I feel like if you are in this feeling of loss or sadness or what do I do, or going through hardship, just remember you have support there and you can always go inward, right? And sometimes we're afraid, like, I can't go inward. I don't want to look at that. I don't want to whatever. That's okay to feel like that. But we have to learn to go into more depth within ourselves if we want to grow, like on the soul level. So remembering you can listen to your inner voice, like just observing what's inside of you can't hurt you. There are things that are uncomfortable or don't feel good, but your own energy, your connection to God, that will always be nourishing for yourself. And so really holding that space for yourself and remembering, again, you can pray for help. You can say, the very simple help me prayer, one of my favorites. I use it all the time. Okay. Just remembering like you're not alone and you do have this ability to like go inward and hear guidance. And sometimes the guidance is like, not these big giant things. It's just something of like, just keep going the path. Just do one day at a time. Do only the things you can control. Just get through today, right? And then the pieces are coming together. Sometimes people think, oh, well, if I'm asking for guidance, it's going to be this big end all be all conclusion of everything in my life. And that's not necessarily true. Sometimes the guidance is just stay on the path, stay focused, do the boring, basic things you have to do to feel this way. So again, honoring that and not like shaming yourself out of these things. And then finally, we have your life as a canvas, artist, manifestation, creative accountability. So again, I feel like just remembering, again, when I'm hearing a lot of you guys in group 2, it feels like there was like this push to be like, I have to do everything on my own, or like kind of like some powerlessness of like, okay, I can't do anything. God has to do all this stuff for me. But we want to find both. So with this one, with your life as a canvas, this is like God is making so many things happen for us that we can't imagine, but we also have to do our part to be able to engage in that. So this is saying, there's unlimited possibilities. There's things that are being planned for you that are going to help you, but your life as a canvas is a reminder that like you have to show up and do your part so that God can also do God's part. So this is just a reminder that who knows what's going to happen? I don't. We think we know, or we assume a bunch of things are going to happen, but we literally have no clue what's going to happen in our lives, in the world, and all of that. And so this is to remember that like you have the ability to be creative, and not just even like in an art way, but just you have the ability to have some creative energy in your life of how you show up, of what you want to do, the choices you make, all of those contribute to like this canvas that is your life. And so not downplaying that, not downplaying your power, not downplaying how many things you can do for yourself, that's all really important. Okay, I'm going to pull one affirmation card for you guys, group 2. Okay, we have activating the third eye. I'm willing to see beyond my beliefs, ideas, and conclusions. So look at this. Conclusions are within reach, and I am willing to see beyond my beliefs, ideas, and conclusions. Okay, so I love when this happens. So this is a reminder that, the conclusion that's in reach might not be your conclusion, right? Are you willing to be wrong so that God can be right? Are you willing to be wrong so that God can work a miracle or do something or set things up in a way that like you wouldn't choose for yourself? So I'm willing to see beyond my beliefs, ideas, and conclusions. Very good affirmation, very good way to get out of our own way, to let these things happen to us, and really honor them in these ways. Okay, that's everything I have for you. Thank you so much for choosing to be here with me today. If you ever want any more information about me, all that is linked below. Thank you so much, and I hope you have a wonderful day. Hi everyone, welcome. This is for everyone who picked group number 3. So as a reminder, this is a full moon and eclipse reading. So I'll be reading the cards in terms of like letting things go, and also eclipse energy is about fated changes and things resolving and all of that. Okay. So you all pick the card, your dreams need a practical plan, full moon in Taurus. So we do have a full moon in Taurus today. And guess what? Your dreams do need a practical plan. Okay. So if you pick this card, this is a reminder, the Taurus energy is like really grounded. It's really stable. It's really sturdy. It's really stubborn, some might say. Love you, Taurus. Okay. But this is really energy about like remembering that your dreams need a practical plan. Okay. But it's finding this Taurus energy, which is really grounded, really earthy, really all of that. And remembering that, you are able to, like we have the dream and the vision, but then part of what a lot of our human work is to do, say, okay, how can I make that happen in physical reality? How can I break it down into this, this, and this? How can I, whatever. So this is more a lot of the like the nitty gritty, like masculine energy of like doing things, making things happen, making a plan. This is how this is going to happen. This is what's going to happen with this. This is what I'm going to do with this. So your dreams need a practical plan is really about making sure that you honor what's going on in your own heart, but doing it in a way that, again, breaks it down into small steps, right? A lot of times, the main determiner for our dreams is like if we're consistent and we have self-discipline and a plan with it, more so than like, is it practical? Is it going to happen? Is it whatever, right? You hear those stories of people who persist at something for a really long time and then finally the breakthrough happens or this happens or whatever, so your dreams need a practical plan is like it's not just a one and done la la land. I did it, right? This is like steady, continuous, boring work and doing that thing over and over again. And that's what gets us where we need to go more than, this energy of like, okay, I did it once, I'm done, the end, like solved. Okay. So I'm going to look at your tarot cards, then I'll look at your oracle cards. Just a reminder that like, practicality is annoying, but we are on Earth and we are here and we do need to deal with some of these physical reality things in that way. Okay, so for your tarot cards, okay, we have Temperance in reverse for your first card. Then we have King of Pentacles. Okay, then we have Eight of Swords. Then we have Queen of Swords. And then we have the Hanged Man. And then we have the Two of Wands. Okay, so yeah, I'm getting a lot of it's time to let go of some learned helplessness here, group 3 is what I'm hearing. So with that full moon, that's really what you need to let go of is like learned helplessness, and also getting more clear about the ways you can show up for yourself and the ways that you can kind of like sort out, this is where I have power, this is where I can put my energy, this thing works for me, this thing doesn't, instead of just being like, I can't do anything, that's life, blah, blah, blah. Okay, so these cards are really saying to me, it's time for you to like go inward and be accountable and look at like, okay, well, you can't control when it happens or when it all comes together, but you can control some other things. So how can you be practical about that and do these like, again, boring, tedious, human, adult things we have to do to make these other things happen. So again, going along with that theme, we have Temperance in reverse to the King of Pentacles. So Temperance in reverse, Temperance upright is about like finding balance, restoring yourself, re-nourishing yourself. Like you should do that. We want to keep doing that. But this is a reminder that it's time to, sometimes we're in a season of rest and a season of really doing that. And then sometimes we're in a season that's way more focused on like, okay, time to make something happen, time to get going, time to do this, this, and this thing, time to whatever, right? And so that's what I'm getting from these two cards. Because it's King of Pentacles, again, Pentacles is the earth suit, it's connected to the earth signs, so we have this Taurus energy here again, just remembering like it's time to be practical, it's time to like, the King of Pentacles always talks to me about like someone who just like has their stuff together and is just able to make a plan to make it happen, to go with it. So these two cards to me are saying, you know enough. You don't need to read another book. You don't need to get another download. You don't need to whatever, right? You just need to start. Okay. Don't overthink it. Just start. That's what I'm really hearing for you guys in group 3 of just like, oh no, can I do this? Can I do that? Can I whatever? But again, this is really saying like you've nourished yourself, you're recharged, you have some clarity. And this doesn't mean, you have to have everything figured out right away or that things can't change or whatever. But this is a reminder that there is a time and a place to pour into yourself, and then there is a time and a place to take action. And obviously, we want to do both always, right? We're not just one thing, But the emphasis more right now, what I'm getting is really moving forward, taking action, showing up for yourself again, doing these like boring human grown-up things that we know actually add up and work for us in ways that we have to do them, part of physical reality life, right? Because then what I see, so the resistance I'm getting to doing that for you guys in group 3 is this 8 of Swords, which is really about, again, more learned helplessness. So you see like this person's, they're wrapped up, but they have all these swords around them, but no one's near them. They could probably just like, these don't look like they're wrapped super tight. They kind of look like they're just like they're not super thick, like it's not rope, it's just bandage, right? So there's this card about being afraid of like, oh no, I can't make a move, I can't do this, I can't whatever. So that's the resistance I'm hearing. First of all, and then we have the Hanged Man, which is also about not giving your power away, not playing yourself, right? But so for this card, particularly with this 8 of Swords, I feel like for you guys in group 3, it's like, maybe you had to fawn and be small and like have learned helplessness to get through certain situations in your life. But now it's time to look inward and say, okay, what have I done that's not my reality anymore? What have I done that I don't need to keep telling that story or telling myself that's how I am anymore? What do I need to do to create space for something different to happen in my life? So again, this 8 of Swords can really be about like making sure you're honoring that there are other things for you to do, that you don't have to fawn anymore. Say it could just be one tiny baby little step, but just saying like, okay, I used to do this thing, but now I don't have to do that anymore. And so with the full moon, kind of releasing that and just saying, I understand I used to have this pattern and it served its purpose, but now I want to let it go. And this is what I'm going to do instead. So again, 8 of Swords, really just remembering you don't need to feel you don't need to feel like you have to push yourself. You don't have to stay small anymore. You have to push yourself out of your comfort zone though to grow. It's like both of these things. You refilled yourself with that nourishment, with that strength, and now it's time to like push yourself a little bit past that so you can get to the other side with these things. Because we do have the Queen of Swords, and this woman is wonderful. She is about setting boundaries. She knows her worth. She's gonna say no, like, my sword, it says absolutely not to this thing. This is not something I'm gonna do or engage in, right? So this Queen of Swords is a reminder that it is important for you to set boundaries. It is important for you to like, maybe you're scared moving forward because you didn't realize you needed this one particular boundary in your life or something that happened in your past, and now you know. Okay, so this card is about trusting yourself. It's about trusting like, I can take the actions that feel right for me because I trust I know what my boundaries are. I trust I know what works for me. I trust I know what doesn't work for me. Okay, so this Queen of Swords is really a reminder that it's important for you to say no. It's important for you to say, okay, as I take this step, this is my non-negotiable. This is what is going to work for me. This is what is not going to work for me. Okay, so but just really honoring that and knowing that, again, you can trust your boundaries. You can trust the way you want to do things. And again, moving away from more of this like learned helplessness energy, right? So this is kind of like head in the sand, learned helplessness energy. And then this is a little bit better, right? Because you're out there, the blindfold's off, right? But this is still energy of like playing yourself and just like, I can't do anything. I have no power. I can't whatever. And what I'm hearing from this too is like, you know what you want to do, but you still have to push yourself out of your comfort zone to take those first steps, right? No matter what we want in life, no matter how hard we work, right? We still have to put ourselves out there. We still have to take a risk. It just takes one yes. It just takes one thing to build momentum to get going, but we still have to be the ones to start that. And so this is really just saying, don't forget how much power you have, and don't forget how much choice you have. Don't forget how much options you have, and how you can like move forward with all of that. So the Hanged Man is a reminder. And then look at this, closing with the 2 of Wands, which is really beautiful. So I feel like the closing message for you guys in group 3 is like, once you start to take action, you're going to see, oh, okay, I feel more clear. I feel, this is like standing up straight, like the world is in your hands. You have options. Like I can go here or here. I can decide this or this. I can whatever, right? So when you kind of like reprogram these thoughts of like, okay, well, this is my dream, but it's all the way up here. How do I get to that? This is really reminding you like you can't. You just come back into yourself. You come home to yourself. You trust in that. And there are going to be more options than you think once you start taking action, once you put yourself out there, once you feel more clear in those ways. So this is a reminder that, when you do start to take action, momentum builds. And when you just do one thing differently, you open yourself up to like many, many, many different things being different, right? If you just do one thing differently, you have no idea how that's going to snowball and unfold, where it's going to lead you, right? But again, it's like, it's just starting to take action and starting to build that momentum is what's important. And once you do that, you're going to be surprised about how these things come together. But again, it comes down to, you have to put yourself out there. You have to be practical. You have to whatever, like, you know where to start. Even if you don't know how to do steps 8, 9, and 10, you know what step 1 is. You know what the first baby thing to do is. And it's going with that, going at the pace that works for you, but just again, continuing to, you have to do your part and have a little bit of movement in those ways. Okay, I'm gonna look at your oracle cards. Oh my God. This happened with all 3 groups today. So we got some powerful energy for you guys, but we have for the first step, which is the hydrangea flower. Breaking down this problem into tiny pieces makes it easy to take the first step. So what was I just saying? You have to do this. So again, so this is very mirroring of your dreams need a practical plan, but it's also mirroring of, like, okay, here's the steps to do that. But this is also saying, like, trust that you will figure it out along the way. Trust that you will know what to do when it's time to do it. Trust that, you have figured out so many things in your life before. You can figure this out too. Trust your ability to know how to handle things, and trust you've earned your right to trust that you know what to do, you know how to figure things out. So this is just a reminder that, again, breaking it down into smaller things, doing one thing at a time, is really going to help you move forward and take those first steps and, like, be able to do, these particular things in certain ways. So don't feel like, oh my God, I don't know where to start. I don't know how to do this. Like, again, you probably know one tiny little step today, right? Do you just need to send that email? Do you need to buy a camera? Do you need to, make that Instagram account? Do you need to write in your journal? Do you need to whatever? Do you need to look up how to do this? Do you need to call someone who can tell you, start doing this, this, and this, right? So take the first step. You know what to do with the first thing. Do that. Just start there. And then again, you have no idea how one conversation, what it can lead to. You have no idea what putting yourself out there can do, but, like, you know what to do to take the first step. And this is really saying, please do that. And so we have this card, yes. So I just, I love this deck because some of the cards say yes, no, like, they're just really clear. So this is just a reminder, like, don't give up on your dreams. You can trust them. It was planted in your heart for a reason. Say yes and watch what happens when you do that. When you start taking action, when you start moving forward, again, you have no idea how these things are going to snowball and keep building into each other. And that's so important. Because then we have the Golden Children card. Inner child, tenderness, innocence, rare gifts. So just remember that, like, we all have our own specific rare gifts, and it doesn't take away from anyone else's, but it is a reminder that all of those things put together do add up, and they do allow us to be able to all be doing our part to make the earth a more kind, welcome, loving place, right? So Golden Children is really about honoring your rare gifts and honoring, like, this ability that you have to, you have this dream, you have this vision, you have these things you want to do, and our God gave that to us, but it's still up to us to do something with that. It's still up to us to be able to make something happen, to again, have it be a practical plan, flush it out in physical reality, right? So trust that you have your specific vision for a reason. And then finally, we have feel it to heal it. So I feel like, again, this is a little reminiscent, you know what I mean, of this temperance in reverse of just, like, you did this, and you've done that to nourish yourself. And so if you're feeling afraid, if you're feeling like, I don't know what to do, don't pretend like you don't feel like that. Lean into that. Say, like, okay, I feel afraid to do this, this, and this. And sometimes you can say, great, I'm afraid to make this phone call. I'm still going to make this phone call. I'm afraid to write this email. I'm still going to write this email. I'm afraid to do this thing. I'm still going to do it, right? Feel it to heal it. Really honor it. Really lean into that. These feelings that we have, when we bring them to the light and when we share them with someone who we know is, like, a safe, loving person for us, it's actually way easier for us to move forward and move through that. And we can see, oh, this actually doesn't have as much power over me as I thought it did. It's just when it's in isolation, when it's private, when it's whatever, when people support us, it's easier to kind of move through those feelings than feel like, oh no, I feel this, that's so embarrassing, I can't feel this, I can't, whatever. So just, again, honoring the fears that come up with your practical plan, and remembering that, like, when you honor your fears, that means you're on the right path. Because if you were just staying in your comfort zone and not being challenged, then these fears wouldn't come up. So just also remember that if you feel worried or fearful or challenged, that is you going out of your comfort zone, and that is you. It's a good sign. It's like, I know we don't want to be like, yeah, I want to be afraid all the time, right? But it is a good sign that you are pushing yourself to be different and do something different, because it's coming up for you. Okay, I'm going to close with one affirmation card for you guys in group 3. Celebrating simplicity. I am more fulfilled when there is less to manage and maintain. Great. So I feel like sometimes one thing that can block us from taking action or starting or doing this practical plan is thinking like, I need to have the most detailed, amazing, wonderful, no questions, whatever. Okay. But this is just saying like, just start, like what this whole reading for you guys, just start, just do something, see what happens, do all of that. Right. So I'm more fulfilled when there's less to manage and maintain. Keep it simple, right? So just send one email, do one thing, just one thing at a time, all of that. So celebrating simplicity doesn't have to be this big, huge, giant empire and every single detail of everything worked out. Just do one thing at a time and trust that that's going to add up and build together for yourself there. Okay, that's everything I have for you. Thank you so much for choosing to be here with me today. If you ever want any more information about me, all of that is linked below. Thank you so much, and I hope you have a wonderful day.